day 2 of 40 something, I don't know. It's been a few weeks. This week I'm officially out of work, on unemployment, but I can still cook. Shannon's saving the world one patient at a time, I guess. But I'm gonna be at home baking. I got nothing better to do other than make sure my kids don't kill each other. But if I'm gonna be baking, I might as well take videos. So I'm doing donuts. You might not have flour, you might not have frying oil. I know it's kind of hard to get right now. But after this is all over, look at the video again, make some donuts. I know Jack and Sadie don't really get out to Dunkin' Donuts or Donna's donuts as much as they love, but hopefully they're gonna like these donuts, and they're pretty easy to make, so take a look. All right, what's up? So I made cookies yesterday, posted the video, and everybody really seemed to like it. So I wanted to make donuts today, and so I'm gonna video that too. Donuts, these are old-fashioned donuts, not the yeasted cake donuts. Old-fashioned are great because, you know, you can make them in a day. The yeasted cake variety, or risen donuts, I mean, you kind of gotta wait a little bit longer, maybe the next day. But these you can make in one day. So these are just sour cream donuts. Pretty easy, a few ingredients. You can do it with a mixer or without. I'm gonna do it without because I'm tired of washing dishes. And if you do it with, there's just a slight change in how you mix. So real quick, if you do a mixer, you're gonna do this first step and you're gonna cream, butter, and sugar and add the eggs just like you would the cookies we did. And then instead of that, I'm just gonna whisk my sugar with butter, melted butter and eggs in a bowl, and then that's that. So I'm gonna get to doing that. I can't whisk one-handed, I gotta hold the bowl, so I'm gonna put the phone down. So I realized two things. I got a little stand on my phone, and I should turn the phone sideways. Also, I had a little vanilla in the eggs, but again, I'm gonna post the recipe at the end of the video, so you'll have all the info. So I'm gonna try and prop this phone up and whisk. I've already mixed the melted butter and the sugar together, and then I'm going to add the yolks and whisk those in. Oh, all right, that works. All right, so whisk, whisk, whisk. Kind of vigorously, right? And I want this to get a little, you see like that's kind of deep yellow. I want to get it a little more pale.
I can see everything.
Yeah.
You really did.
Thanks. So paler yellow color, kind of ribboned. When your sort of egg sugar mixture doesn't melt back into itself very quickly. I guess that's the best way. Ribboning is what we call it.
He's very good at his cooking skills, so don't laugh about it.
All right, so I'm gonna add sour cream now. So this is baking in the time of a pandemic. So I didn't have a lot of sour cream, and this does require almost 2 cups of sour cream.
Amy.
So I actually ended up using some, so it's like half sour cream, half plain Greek yogurt, and some heavy cream. You lose some of the acidity when you add the heavy cream, but it's okay, it's still gonna be good. So just kind of whisk that to combine. And you'll have, you know, looks like pancake batter. All right. So all the flour, I have flour, cinnamon, salt, and baking powder. Quite a bit of baking powder too, actually. In here, sifted. So measure it out, and then sift. And then I sifted right onto a piece of parchment paper, or you can use foil or plastic wrap. It's so much easier actually than trying to get everything into a bowl to get a larger landing zone. But I'm gonna switch to a spatula now. So I can fold. So I don't want to fold in, and so two things with this: you're whipping the yolks and the sugar, and you're folding in sifted flour, and this is all to make sure that you don't end up with a really dense donut. I mean, these are going to be dense anyways, no matter what, because it's kind of a dry dough. But all in all, you don't want to make it any more dense than you have to. And you don't want to develop any gluten, so you don't want to mix these too heavily. So I've got some dry spots. I don't want any kind of like dry floury spots. Listen, Gremlin. I don't want any dry floury spots kind of falling around there. But it's okay to see some patches of flour as long as you don't have loose bits of flour. This is so much easier when you were half asleep yesterday and not paying attention to me doing this, huh?
But
okay.
I want to make it more fun.
All right, so
I don't want people to
kind of
laugh about
got
it.
some bits of flour in there, but not like crummy flour, you know? So that's cool. So next is you need to let this refrigerate. So like an hour until it's really chilled, and the dough's gonna be firmer and not so sticky. And then we can roll them out and cut them. So just plop it onto your plastic wrap. You can also line the bowl with plastic wrap and put it in there as well. All right, Sadie. We don't need extras.
Sometimes, if you see my things or hear my things, just don't laugh. Or laugh. I'm funny.
Okay.
And depressing.
Jesus. So, wrap your dough up into like a thin disc.
Neatly.
The flatter you make it, the less work you're gonna have to do when you go to roll it out. Okay. So we're gonna refrigerate this for like 2 hours, and then we're gonna roll it. So we've got our packet of dough here. It's been in the fridge for 2+ hours now, so it's actually much softer. All the flour has been absorbed. Everything's kind of well hydrated in there, so we're gonna go ahead and roll it out. So you want to roll this out onto, you're gonna roll it out and then you're gonna cut it. Place the donuts onto some parchment, maybe a tray underneath or not. It's fine. This parchment is kind of non-stick. If you don't have parchment, you want to use foil or just a straight tray or something like that. Just make sure you grease it, pan spray oil, something like that first, because you don't want them to stick. But we're gonna cut these out and let them sit at room temperature for like 20 minutes, and in the meantime we're gonna heat up the oil. And you want them to sit and kind of dry out a little bit. That's gonna give you some crispy edges, and it's going to kind of help keep the oil from absorbing and making really greasy donuts. All right, so unwrap your dough. So like I said, it's going to be on the sticky side. So put some flour down. You don't want so much flour that you're going to end up with flour caking all over the donut, because when you fry that, it's not going to be so great. If you don't have a rolling pin, that's fine, because you can actually just pat these down to what you need. I really don't use a rolling pin. If you want to, you can use a rolling pin. So these should be, where's my measuring device? What you do with a measuring device, kids?
Nothing?
Where's my ruler? Oh well. Well, you want them like 1 knuckle high. About 1 knuckle. The gremlin took it. All right, and then if you have cutters, great.
I have a ruler.
That's all right. If you have cutters, great, because you want to make an outside and an inside. If not, you can use a jar or a pint glass. Cut it out with a pint glass like that, and then just, you know, cut the inside with a paring knife, or maybe you've got a jar or something. That's fine. Okay, so cut all your circles. And if it starts to stick, just dip your cutter into the flour. Same thing, cut out the middle, save the holes. Donuts are cut. I didn't make them too thin or too thick. If they're too thin, they're gonna cook too fast. If they're too, there's not gonna be a good like ratio of crust to interior. And then if I make them too thick, they're gonna be doughy in the middle. So that's why I say like a knuckle, or which is like a little, like 3/4 of an inch thick. And then we've got the inside, and you can see like right up against the edge there, you know, it's really open on the edge, and that's good because that's gonna expand. And from that, I've got, let's see, 15 donuts. I'm ready to fry. I've got my oil set up. I've got a, called an icing screen, or a little cooling rack, to get the donuts out or to flip them. Same with this, either one's fine. You can also use chopsticks to turn them. You see a little stick in the donut shuts where they kind of poke it in the hole and flip it over. And I got my donuts, and they've got sort of like a skin on them, like they've dried a little bit on the exterior, and that's going to help keep some of the oil from kind of penetrating, and keeping them from getting greasy. And I've also got a thermometer set up. So what I really want is like 350, because 375 is a little too hot. They're gonna kind of burn a little bit before, maybe not burn, but they're gonna get a little dark before they cook all the way through. I've got an electric stovetop, and as you can see, it's on low, like 2. See if I can get it a little lower. And it's really hard to kind of adjust the heat. So you know your stovetop, keep that in mind. And I've got a heavy bottom pan. So this is an enamel cast iron pan. And I've got about 2 inches of oil in there, enough for the oil, for the donuts when I drop them in, that they don't touch the bottom. So I'm gonna throw the donut holes in first. Oh, and I've also got glaze. So that, I'll have a recipe for that. And I've got cinnamon sugar, brown sugar, a little brown sugar, a little white sugar, and some cinnamon to toss the donut holes in. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw some of the donut holes in. Just be careful when you drop them in. You don't drop them in and burn yourself. And once you start dropping donuts in, the temperature will drop about 10 degrees because you've got something a little bit colder going in the hot oil. If anything sticks to the bottom, just move them around. And so this should take probably like 3 minutes per side before you need to flip them. And they should puff up a little bit. You see some of them are already starting to get a little brown around the edges. That's because the oil's hotter. It's at like 370. Okay, so get your donut holes out of the oil. Put them on your screen, your paper towel. Okay, so now my temp is down on 345, which is actually what I really want. So I'm gonna start dropping the rest of the donuts in. And you don't really want to fill up the pan because you want to be able to flip them and you want some room for the rest. So I'm going to put 6 in at a time, 5 or 6. I want to make sure they float almost right away. All right, and now my donut holes, while they're still warm and they still got a little bit of like kind of, I don't want to say greasiness, but a little bit of that oil coat on the outside. You want to get them in the cinnamon sugar. Toss them around. All right. I'm going to fish them out. And that kind of warm donut and the oil coating the outside of the donuts makes the sugar stick. These are gonna be so good. And these will be good for a couple days maybe, but you're gonna want to eat them pretty soon. All right, donut holes done. Back to the donuts. So, like I said, you can use a chopstick to flip them. This is great. This part, it's gonna be a lot of nooks and crannies for the glaze. If your oil's too low, you're gonna have greasy donuts. If it's too high, you're gonna have overcooked donuts and gooey centers. Around that 340 to 350 mark, you're gonna have fluffy donuts, which is good, which is what you want. You wanna see them start to crack on the top and stuff. Again, that's all the nooks and crannies for the glaze to go in. That's what we want. All right, so these are ready to come out. Just that chopstick thing, right? And I got a glove on because I'm going to dip them in glaze and I don't want to have nasty hands. All right, get them all out. And then get the other ones in. I took out the thermometer because I'm on the last batch. I don't really need to know what temperature it is anymore kind of hit my sweet spot on the knob anyways. Careful when you're dropping them in again. See all that foaming? That's from the flour on the donuts. So too much of that and you end up with really dirty oil. You don't want that. Flip my parchment over. All right, and if you got any that you want to toss in the sugar, now's the time to do it. Okay. Now's the time to get them coated. If you wanted to make these cider donuts, you would reduce cider by half and then substitute half of the sour cream in the recipe for cider. But you really need to reduce cider to get that flavor. All right, so I love keeping these kind of donuts that get that ridge on it for the glaze, because again, that glaze kind of fills them all up. These are still, if you can't hold it for more than like 5 seconds, wait until they're warmer or cooled off more before you start dipping them. All right. So the glaze, you're gonna want to dip and then let the extra dip off again. So get it in there halfway. Some of it drip off. Boom. Boom. Nice. Look at that. And so just let a little bit of the extra drip off. If you don't, it's just going to pool around the donut and it'll be kind of soggy, not great. All right. So flipping them, you want them to look light brown on the flip, because they're still going to keep cooking once they're in there. All right. And then probably another like 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll pull them out and do more glaze and more sugar and voila. All right, so let that cool a little bit. Toss them in sugar, all right? Get some glaze on them, and then eat as few as you possibly can while they're still warm. Save some for later, and don't get too fat because the gyms are closed. Check it out. These are donuts glazed. There's some, got, you know, wax paper in between layers in here in a plastic container. I'm not going to cover it tightly because then it's just going to condensation and the glaze is getting all sticky and all that stuff. But they're done. You want to glaze one, Sadie?
No.
You can see they're nice and fluffy inside, glazed. Tastes super good. Super good. Oh man. Good luck.
I want these.
All right, have one. A little warm.
Jack, want one of these?
How are they? Be honest. How are they?
Good.
Good.